You need to be a good driver to pass the UK driving test. If you make any of the mistakes that are explained in this video, either on your lessons or in private practice, then you are not ready and safe enough to take the UK driving test. Use the examples with your driving instructor or the person whoever's supervising your practice to help identify the areas where you need to improve your skills, knowledge and understanding. And before we start, please consider subscribing to our channel. We have over 200 videos to help with your driving, and it's completely free and it really helps other people find us. Thanks. You must always make effective observations before moving into a new road to ensure that it is safe for you to proceed. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. When you turn left or right from a minor road, you make observations but fail to judge the speed of the approaching vehicle. You move off, forcing the vehicle to slow significantly. When you approach a roundabout, there's a vehicle approaching from the right. You still enter the roundabout, causing the vehicle approaching to slow down. When you emerge from a junction, you make no effective observations at all. This causes a vehicle approaching from either the left or right to do an emergency stop to avoid hitting you, and the driving examiner to use the dual controls to brake. When you're on a slip road to join a dual carriageway, you enter the dual carriageway without making any observations, or you do not give way to the traffic on the main carriageway. When you approach a crossroads, you do not recognise that it's a junction. You emerge and cross the crossroads without making any observations to the right or left. When you emerge from a junction, you look too late, either left or right, for the observations to be effective, as you're already partly into the next road. Throughout the test, when you turn left from a minor road into a busier road, you do not make any effective observations to the left. This means you're unaware of any parked vehicles, obstructions or other possible hazards. Not using mirrors correctly when changing direction. You must always make full and effective use of your mirrors. Check your mirrors when signalling, changing direction or changing speed. Use the mirror signal manoeuvre routine effectively. These are some examples of mistakes that can count towards this fault. You need to take the right-hand exit on a large multi-lane roundabout. When you move from the right-hand lane to the left-hand lane to exit the roundabout, you make no rear or passenger side observations or mirror checks. When you're on a dual carriageway, you check your mirrors when changing lanes, but there's a vehicle approaching in the lane you want to move into. You start to change lanes anyway, causing the approaching vehicle to slow down. When you're driving on a roundabout, you try to change lanes when there's a vehicle directly alongside you. The driving examiner has to take control of the steering wheel to stop a collision. When you exit a roundabout, you do not check your mirrors and cut across the path of a closely following vehicle to the left-hand side of the car. Not moving off safely. You must be able to move off safely while making correct observations, from the side of a road, on a hill or a gradient, and from behind a parked vehicle. These are some examples of mistakes that will count towards this fault. When you move off from behind a parked vehicle, you check your mirrors and blind spot, but still move off into the path of an approaching vehicle. This causes the vehicle to significantly slow down. Throughout the test, you repeatedly move off from the side of the road with no blind spot checks in situations where they're needed. After the pull up on the right exercise, you move off with either an oncoming vehicle or a closely approaching vehicle from behind. This causes the vehicle to severely slow down or stop.
And when you're ready, drive on again.
After you do the emergency stop exercise, you move off without making any rear observations, having been stationary in the middle of the lane for some time. Incorrect positioning when turning right at junctions. You must position your car correctly when turning right at a junction. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. When you need to turn right at a roundabout, you use the left-hand lane when it's not appropriate and continue around the roundabout in that lane. This confuses several following vehicles. When you want to turn right into a minor road, you position your car too far to the left while you wait for oncoming traffic to clear. This causes severe delays to the following traffic on a road where it was wide enough for the traffic to pass you on the left. When you reach the end of a wide road with no road markings, you position to the left of your lane when you're actually turning right. Not responding appropriately to traffic lights. You must act correctly at traffic lights, checking that the road is clear before you proceed when the green light shows. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. When a red traffic light is clearly showing, you attempt to proceed through the junction. At a signal-controlled junction with an advanced stop line to allow cyclists to be positioned ahead of other traffic, you stop behind the first white line in the area for cyclists. When a green light or a green filter light is visible, you continue to wait at a clear junction. You do not attempt to proceed. When you need to turn right at a junction, you continue to wait in the middle of the junction when the repeater light has turned red and the oncoming traffic has stopped. This causes you to completely block the junction controlled by traffic lights. When the traffic lights are green, you go ahead, even though the junction is not clear. This means you're then blocking the junction when the traffic lights change. Not having proper control of the steering. You must be able to steer the car as smoothly as possible. You must steer at the appropriate time, because steering too late or too early could cause the car to hit the curb, or you could steer into the path of another road user. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. Throughout the test, when you turn left, you repeatedly understeer, not following the shape of the curb. This means there's not enough space for vehicles turning right to fit alongside your car. When you drive around a bend at an appropriate speed, you do not apply enough steering. This causes both passenger side wheels to mount the pavement. When you turn right into a minor road, you steer late and not enough. This causes a swan neck effect, and you drive fully onto the wrong side of the new road to correct your position. Throughout the test, when you pull up on the left-hand side of the road, you mount the pavement with both passenger side wheels before the car returns to the road. When you approach parked vehicles, you steer late and get too close to them. Not responding correctly to traffic signs. You must be able to understand and react correctly to all traffic signs. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. You go to the wrong side of a keep left sign in the road. You ignore either a stop sign by crossing the line on the road and not making sure the way ahead is clear, or a no entry sign. These are usually at the end of a one-way road where all traffic would be heading towards you. You drive in a bus lane when a sign shows that you cannot use it at that time. When you approach a roundabout, you get into the wrong lane when a sign clearly shows which lane you should go in. You then go around the roundabout in the wrong lane. You either act far too late or not at all when a clearly visible sign shows a change of speed limit. Not responding correctly to road markings. You must be able to understand and react correctly to all road markings. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. When you're driving in a lane that is clearly marked to only be used to turn left, you turn to the right. When you approach a roundabout, clear road markings show the different lanes. You drive the car so that it's straddling two different lanes. When driving on a road with double white lines marking the centre and the line nearer to you is solid, you unnecessarily cross it. When you approach a box junction, these have crisscross yellow lines painted on the road. You enter it either partially or fully when the exit is not clear. When you're approaching and driving around a mini roundabout, you do not steer correctly because you do not follow the road markings. Poor positioning on the road during normal driving. You must be able to position the car correctly for your intended route and position the car in the middle of the marked lane. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. Throughout the test, you repeatedly drive too close to the curb, putting pedestrians at risk, or too close to the centre of the road, putting oncoming drivers at risk. When you drive on a dual carriageway, you unnecessarily drive in the right-hand lane for a considerable length of time. When you go ahead at a roundabout with no lane markings, you straight line the roundabout with no consideration for following vehicles. Straight lining means you drive in a straight line on the road rather than following the bend of the roundabout. Not driving at a safe and reasonable speed. You must be able to show that you can drive at a safe and reasonable speed when appropriate. Take into consideration the conditions of the road, the amount of traffic, road signs and signals, and the speed limit. Drive at a speed where you could stop safely, well within the distance you can see to be clear. These are some examples of mistakes that would count towards this fault. When driving along a road with a speed limit of 40 miles per hour, which then drops to 30 miles per hour, you drive at more than 30 miles per hour for an unnecessary amount of time after the limit has dropped. When driving on a road with a temporary speed limit because of roadworks, you drive faster than the temporary speed limit. When driving down a busy high street, you do not lower your speed accordingly. When driving in bad weather such as heavy rain or fog, you do not lower your speed limit accordingly. When driving on a country road where the national speed limit applies, you approach a sharp bend too fast and try to drive around it. This results in the loss of control of the car. So those were the top 10 reasons people fail their driving test here in Great Britain. If you make similar mistakes while driving, take the time on your lessons and practice to prevent those faults from putting you in danger. Once you are sure that you are ready, book your driving test with the DVSA. Good luck. If you found this video interesting, then please visit our channel as we have over 200 more tutorial videos to help you improve your driving. If you would like to help us make new videos, then please consider becoming a member of our channel. Thanks for watching.